Peter King is going to join us momentarily. Peter went to see the Raiders, went to see the Buffalo Bills. Here is a comment from Davante Adams talking about going from one Hall of Fame quarterback in Green Bay to a Hall of Fame quarterback with the Raiders.
I mean, anytime you change quarterbacks from, a Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer, you go, Stabler to Rich Gannon or whoever you go to, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. And, both are great players and great to be around. So I'm just enjoying that process and getting better myself, trying to do as much as I can to help these guys go out there and win as many games as we can.
That's courtesy of CBS Sports HQ. Peter King was with the Raiders, of course, the great columnist for Football Morning in America, NBCSports.com. What'd you make of those comments that I'd like that he believes in Derek Carr, but Hall of Fame quarterback?
I mean, what's he going to say? Go from a Hall of Fame quarterback to a nice quarterback? I mean, come on. I mean, I'll just say this, Dan. We live in an age where every athlete knows that being absolutely, totally honest and saying that, hey, I was with one of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time in Aaron Rodgers, and now I'm going to a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. I'm really happy. I'm fortunate to be able to do it, but let's face it, Derek Carr is not Aaron Rodgers. I mean, so he can't say that. So he then has to say something that obviously is a stretch, but I don't know. It goes in one ear and out the other to me.
Explain to me the love for the Raiders so far. It feels like the media is on this bandwagon early. Are you buying the Raider hype?
Well, they made the playoffs last year, and in their only playoff game last year, they were very competitive and almost beat the champion of the AFC, the eventual champion of the AFC. They added the best receiver in football and a transcendent, for them anyway, pass rusher to team with Max Crosby. I mean, why wouldn't you be excited about the Raiders? I think the Raiders have a chance to be really good. Unfortunately, really good, you also might have to overcome going 2-4 or 3-3 in your division. What's going to be really interesting, I think, there's a bunch of early games that are fun, but like Josh McDaniels told me over the weekend, he goes, you should go to our first game of the year. And I had to think for a minute. Raiders at Chargers. Yeah. He goes, that's really going to be a great game because the Chargers obviously made a lot of improvements this offseason, and the Raiders made improvements this offseason. So every team in that division is going to be better. So even if the Raiders are better, it doesn't necessarily mean they're even going to be a playoff team. But I like what I saw when I saw them this weekend.
But you talk about teams getting better. Did the Chiefs get better?
No, they didn't. They're the one, but they've won the division 6 years in a row. So, somebody's still going to have to knock off the king. Anytime you have Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, and obviously a very diminished receiver core, but Juju Smith-Schuster and this rookie Sky Moore, I think, is going to be an impact player. And we'll see about Marquez Valdez-Scantling. But they're going to be good enough on offense. It's like everybody's saying, well, the Packers without Davante Adams, they're not going to be as good. Has Aaron Rodgers always figured this stuff out? Yes, he does. So when I did my 32 teams, 32 questions in the column today, I wrote about the Packers special teams and Rich Bisaccia coming in. To me, that's the biggest thing that they have to deal with. They lost a playoff game to a weak offensive team in San Francisco. At home, they lost it because they couldn't play special teams. So that, to me, is a bigger question right now in Green Bay because Aaron Rodgers always figures it out.
Deebo Samuel situation, kind of quiet.
I don't know, Dan. It strikes me that John Lynch is really going to try to get something done under the radar to try to keep Deebo Samuel happy. Look, in the past, some players in search of a new contract report to training camp, don't practice, and just go to all the meetings. And so to not have a war with that player, a lot of times the team just grits its teeth and says, okay, just come to meetings and stay here and we won't fine you. I don't know if that's what Deebo Samuel is going to do or not.
If you're Lamar Jackson's camp, what happens? Is there an initiative on your part, or are you waiting for the Ravens to act on a contract extension?
Dan, I've said all along that to me, I'd like to see Lamar Jackson play well in the postseason before paying him more money than Patrick Mahomes. To me, and I still feel that way. He's played 4 playoff games. He has not played well in any one of those 4 games. And, you're not signing a guy for the long term because he can play well in October. You think you're signing him because you think he can lead you to a championship. Now, it could be that the Ravens might say, okay, we'll risk it. We'll sign him for 4 years, $47 million a year, whatever it is, because if he does win a Super Bowl or plays great in the playoffs, then all of a sudden it's a Flacco situation. We don't even remember this. We don't even think about this. But 1 decade ago, Joe Flacco was the first $20 million player in NFL history. It seems almost laughable to think about that now.
Yeah.
But he's the first $20 million player in history because he bet on himself and he said, I'm going to win the Super Bowl next year, be a free agent, and they're going to have to break the bank for me. That's what they did. If I were Jackson, I wouldn't mind doing that.
If I gave you a 5-year contract to give to either Kyler or Lamar, you had to give it to one of those two.
I'd probably give it to Lamar because I just, there's something about Kyler that worries me a bit. He's a small human being, relatively speaking. Not that, Lamar Jackson is a sequoia, but, Kyler Murray is going to, part of his game is his legs, as is, the same thing with Jackson. But I fear Kyler Murray. I don't think they're very different in terms of what they can produce over the course of a season, but I worry a little bit about Murray staying healthy.
We're talking to Peter King, Football Morning in America columnist and, of course, contributor with NBC Sports. The market for Jimmy Garoppolo is what?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I keep thinking that he'll end up in Seattle, and maybe he will. But the smartest thing for Jimmy Garoppolo to do is right now to just tell the 49ers, don't do anything. I don't want to go anywhere till Labor Day, even if I go somewhere then, because remember, in 2015 when the Sam Bradford thing happened, Teddy Bridgewater gets hurt in Minnesota and Sam Bradford gets traded for a gold mine. Turned out to be a great deal for the Eagles because Carson Wentz was ready to play, whatever year that was. I think it was 16, maybe 17. I forget. But I think if I were him, unless I got some assurance from Seattle that I really had a chance to be the long-term guy, if I were him, I'd rather wait to see what everybody's health is on Labor Day weekend.
You were with the Buffalo Bills. It seemed like it was boy band crazy for Josh Allen up there with what the fans hope for, wish for, expect out of Josh Allen.
I haven't seen a reaction to a player in training camp like that. I don't know if I don't remember the last time I saw a reaction. They were absolutely bonkers for Josh Allen. He's become, Sean McDermott said something very interesting to me yesterday because I complimented him. Remember in May when there was the grocery store slaughter in Buffalo and the Bills, they took like 5 buses. Everybody in the organization came in and Stephon Diggs flew in. He wasn't even at their mini camp, and he flew in to be able to go and be with his teammates there. And Josh Allen stood up, and he was the spokesman for the team, not the coach, not the GM, not the owner. It was Josh Allen was the spokesman. He was eloquent. And I think he has become something of a bit of a civic icon there very early in his career. And what I should mention, McDermott said to me, he goes, athletes in a town can be hugely important. He said, remember when David Ortiz stood up at Fenway Park and said, this is our bleeping city? And and everybody said, "Oh, geez." I mean, that was, little kids are listening to that. But David Ortiz was saying, "Hey, look, don't F around with us, man, because we are going to come back with a vengeance." And I think Josh Allen, in what he did around the time of that shooting, really kind of propelled himself into a bit of a civic leader status.
Is the time frame of the season factored in with the decision with Deshaun Watson?
I mean, I thought we'd have a decision by July 25. Obviously, the Browns need to know, and they need to know if they are going to have to go out. I mean, if Sue L. Robinson, the arbitrator, says, "I agree, we're going to suspend him for a year," or "I agree with the NFL's case, we're going to suspend him for a year," and then obviously it's going to be appealed and all that. But so they have to know. And again, look, I don't know what the process has been like, but it's time for her to make a decision. She's got to do it this week.
Pete, good to talk to you. Off to the Patriots coming up later this week.
Yeah, going to the Patriots, and then going to see the Browns also and the Steelers, and then 18 teams total in about the next 3.5 weeks.
What happens when you cross paths with Belichick?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him in 15 years. So we don't say anything to each other. I don't really know. I have not crossed paths with him many times, and I doubt I will in Foxborough this week.
Have you put in a request to talk to?
Yes, yeah. I have a couple of times. He has chosen not to.
We actually reached out to him and we said, we'll only talk Army, Navy. That's it. And then the response was, he's considering it.
Well,
that's as close as we got to Belichick, that he was, I'm considering it.
Hey, look, I mean, that's the hazard sometime in this job. You have an opinion, you write things, people don't like it, they choose not to talk to you. This goes back to the Spygate thing.
Okay.
And it's just, that's life. That's life in the big city. And you experience it, I experience it. We're all big people, and life goes on.
Anybody else that is on that list, Pete, that you're still waiting to talk to?
There's a few people who have been difficult for me, but I don't think there's anybody else who basically if I put in a request, wouldn't at least consider talking to me. I'm really not, as you know, Dan, I'm not really the big bad wolf. And but I am going to say, like, when I go to Cleveland, I would really like to talk to Deshaun Watson, even though I think his contract is an absolute abomination. I can't believe that the Browns did that. So I'm going to try to talk to all the parties involved. Hopefully I can, but I guess you'll have to look at Football Morning in America next Monday to see how I did.
I'm going to guess that the last 30 seconds might preclude you from talking to Deshaun Watson.
Dan, I've said it 48 times. I'm not, and it's just the way I feel.
Yeah.
I don't have anything against those guys. I like those guys, but I vehemently disagree with what they did.
Safe travels, Pete. Always great to talk to you.
Okay. Hey, thanks a lot, Dan.
That's Peter King, Football Morning in America. We'll find out what he writes next Monday after he visits the Patriots and the Browns and the Steelers.